Hey, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Mommma podcast. This podcast is about motherhood and about parenting, the joys, the sorrows, the ups, the downs, the sleepless nights, the restful evenings. All things related to parenting and motherhood will be discussed on this podcast. There is no topic that is off limits. So I guess I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Mommma. I am the mother of how do I even describe him? Adventurous, energetic, handsome, inquisitive, smart, beautiful, wonderful, intelligent baby boy. He is 8 months old, and it has been a roller coaster of emotions, of learning experiences this whole while, and I have enjoyed every single second of it. Yes, even the sleepless nights. So, who am I outside of motherhood? Outside of motherhood, I am a podcaster, a YouTube content creator, a blogger, a breastfeeding enthusiast. I am probably the biggest breastfeeding enthusiast that my friends and family know. I'm also super opinionated, and I guess that's a pretty important quality to have if you're going to be a podcaster. I'm passionate about a lot of different topics, and I have a lot to say about those various topics. So I wanted to have a space that was all my own, that I could share with people who have a similar perspective, and even those that have an opposing perspective. Because I think that healthy dialogue is essential to making the world a better place. Not to get sappy and cliche on you, but that's truly how I feel. So without further ado, let's get into the very first episode of the Mommma podcast, Name Pending. So as I was scrolling up and down my timeline on Facebook, I couldn't help but notice a common complaint or grievance, if you will, amongst many of my mother friends. It seems that we pour everything into motherhood. We give our husbands, our children, our dogs, our coworkers, if we work outside of the house, just everybody gets 100% of us. But at the end of the day, we have nothing left. And it's completely impossible to pour from an empty cup. So this topic, I want to discuss rediscovering yourself. And that really took a lot of effort and a lot of deliberate actions on my part and support of my husband to help me rediscover who I am. Before I became a wife, I was a teacher. And even after I got married, I was still a teacher. I went on to grad school, got my degree in education, continued teaching. And right before I had my son, I was in the best position a teacher could ask for. I absolutely loved my jobs. The hours, I'm not crazy about teacher hours because I hate waking up early in the morning, but everything about the job was perfect. I loved the kids. My principal and the administration was a complete joy and delight to work under. My coworkers were amazing. Just the entire atmosphere was completely perfect. I volunteered several times a week. I painted. I did many creative things, and it really wasn't until I became a mother that took all of my energy and all of my mental headspace. Becoming a mom, I have to pour 100% into my son, and now that leaves sometimes nothing left for my husband. And if there's nothing left after I pour into my son to give to my husband, then there's definitely nothing left to give back to myself or to reinvest in myself at the end of the day. So I really had to make a point to do that. And that is one reason why I decided to do this podcast. So I am a stay-at-home mom, and I have been doing that for 8 months. I started as soon as my son was born because I had him at the end of the school year, going into the summer, and the timing just worked out super perfectly. So I have been a stay-at-home mom for 8 months, but it wasn't until maybe around the 6 month mark that I got burned out with just the stay-at-home mom role and just being a stay-at-home mom with nothing else added to my life. So my husband and I, we had a conversation. We sat down. I shared with him how I was feeling. He communicated what he was feeling, and we worked out a super agreement. And now I think that our house flows a little bit better. There's definitely more harmony, more peace, and we are definitely a true partnership now after having that conversation. But I want to make a point. I want to emphasize that communication is key. It's key in all relationships. So what's something that we came up with as a team and as a couple? Well, most Saturday and Sunday mornings, my husband will take the baby and just go downstairs and do whatever fathers and sons do while mom is sleeping or reading or taking a shower. So that has been tremendously helpful. He also supports me when I am doing my video creating, my blogging, my podcasting. He takes the baby, entertains him, and I cannot thank him enough. So, babe, I hope you're listening to this, which I know you are because you are incredibly supportive and wonderful. But it's incredibly helpful when he takes the baby and lets me work on my dreams and my passions. And every so often, my husband will say or ask, "What are you doing tomorrow?" Or "What are you doing this weekend?" And I'll say, "Well, I don't really have any plans." And he'll say, "Okay, good. I'm taking the baby and I'm going to take him until he just absolutely doesn't want anything else to do with me. And you go do your thing. I got the baby. You go do what you need to do." So far, all I've really wanted to do was sleep, take a shower, and watch a movie by myself. But I can't tell you how refreshing and relaxing that is and how thankful I am to have that support. But it all came through communication. So if there is one point that I want to make in this podcast, it's that communication is the key to rediscovering who you are outside of motherhood. Because before I communicated with my husband, I had to communicate with myself. I had to say self. Myself said, huh? I said, we can't do this anymore. We can't go on the way that we have been going on because we will be burnt out and we will be no good to anybody if we keep going the way that we're going, the way we're going. And myself was like, "You right, girl." And I was like, "I know I'm right." So I had to communicate with myself. And then I had to decide what it is that I wanted to do. What will bring me purpose? What will bring me joy? What will bring life back into my life? So I got back into volunteering. I started my blog. I'm starting my podcast. I'm continuing with my content creations on YouTube. And I feel whole. I feel so much better. So communication is key with yourself and with your partner toward finding who you are after motherhood. So I really hope that you enjoyed this podcast. And if you did, you can show your love by subscribing to this podcast. If you like this and you want more, you can connect with me on my other platforms. That's Mommma, JAE space MOMMMA, 3 M's on Facebook and IG, and jmomma.wordpress.com for my blog. I'm Jasmine Flower Vlog on YouTube due to some technical difficulties, but find me there as well and subscribe to my channel. I can't wait to spend more time with you on the next episode of the J Mommma podcast, name pending.